Now at 10 from the night team.
It just came down suddenly.
A devastating day in West Miami-Dade. The FIU pedestrian bridge collapses onto cars just days after it was put into place.
Witnesses who watched it all, stunned.
It sounded like the world was ending.
There are cars underneath of it, obliterated.
I couldn't process what I was seeing.
First responders racing to the scene after hearing this.
The whole bridge is down across the whole side of 8th Street.
Family members and friends fearing the worst, desperate for information about their loved ones.
The injured rushed to the hospital, some fighting for their lives.
One of the patients arrived in cardiac arrest. Another patient arrived in coma.
And the night team also working a traffic nightmare. One of the busiest streets in South Florida has been shut down indefinitely.
And we're learning more about the construction company that built the bridge and a lawsuit filed just last week.
From the search for survivors to the search for answers.
We will hold anybody accountable if anybody's done anything wrong.
Live night team coverage of the sudden collapse. This is 7 News at 10.
Right off the top here at 10 o'clock, a live look from 7 Skyforce tonight over a still very active scene at that bridge. Crews continue digging through the damage and debris, searching for any signs of life.
A live look at this massive mission as it goes late into the night tonight. Crews are still considering this a search and rescue effort as they continue to work around the clock looking for survivors.
Yet another night team camera fired up. Tonight, the investigation intensifies. Federal investigators set to arrive sometime during this hour. Officials confirming 4 people died in this sudden collapse. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Belkis Nure.
I'm Craig Stevens. We have live night team coverage from the scene to the hospital to what we've learned about the company that built and installed that bridge. We're going to begin with Rosh Lowe at the scene in West Miami-Dade tonight. Rosh, start us off.
It has been a devastating day in West Miami-Dade, and now we are getting word from FIU's president, Mark Rosenberg, that there was, in fact, a stress test that was performed on this bridge before this tragedy occurred. Whether that stress test had anything to do with the collapse, we don't know. What we do know tonight is that several lives have been lost.
Search and rescue efforts going late into the night in West Miami-Dade. Even in the darkness of the tragedy, crews holding out hope, looking and listening for signs of life.
We will continue in this mode until we are certain that there are no more viable victims, and at some point we will transition into an investigation and recovery mode, but we're not there yet.
Shortly after the bridge came down, the magnitude of the tragedy became apparent. Cars crushed under heavy concrete. Officials saying at least 8 vehicles were caught in the catastrophe. Officials locating 4 dead victims. Skyforce HD arriving minutes after the bridge, which connected the city of Sweetwater to FIU, came crashing down on top of the 8 lanes of Southwest 8th Street. A horrifying turn to a construction project that was meant to keep pedestrians safe.
This bridge was about goodness, not sadness. Now we're feeling immense sadness.
The fact that they were putting this bridge up, it gave me and gave my friends and classmates so much hope that, we weren't going to have to deal with this mess anymore of, having our lives threatened every time we want to cross the street. And now that this happened, it's just such a tragic setback.
9 injured victims pulled from the wreckage and rushed to the hospital. More than 100 firefighters, police officers, and paramedics moving in despite the danger.
When I saw several construction workers on the top of the bridge that were very badly injured, I climbed up and we had 2 that were unconscious, one that had a major laceration to his head and one that was not breathing. But I was doing chest compressions with one arm, trying to, pull him onto the board just so he would survive. And supposedly, the rescue told us he has made it.
As heavy-duty equipment rolled in to help their efforts, rescue crews also called on canines. Search dogs crawling beneath the crumbled concrete on a mission to find possible survivors.
We're using all of our search and rescue equipment. We use the canines, we use Delstar listening devices, we use search cameras, we call it hailing, we're calling out. So we use everything available to us. But yes, we have to remove some of this piece by piece. It's very unstable.
Miami-Dade Fire Rescue sending up a drone, giving officials this perspective of the deadly collapse, and this snapshot giving a glimpse at what some drivers saw as they slammed on the brakes right after the bridge came crashing down.
One of the girls her car was like halfway out of the bridge. Like, it was a miracle. The back part got squished, but she was okay, and she was out there, and she was like in shock.
As leaders express their condolences, they are also promising a thorough investigation to find out what caused the collapse.
We're going to all want to do our best to try to find out exactly what happened here, and we will do that in a transparent manner. And again, if anybody's done anything wrong, we'll hold them accountable.
And in Washington, the president also reacting to the tragedy, tweeting, continuing to monitor the heartbreaking bridge collapse at FIU. So tragic. Many brave first responders rushed in to save lives. Thank you for your courage. Praying this evening for all who are affected.
And from our vantage point this evening, you can get a really good look at that bridge, a live look right now. And what you can also see in that picture are the efforts that continue this evening, the efforts to remove that debris. Those efforts will continue all night long. We're live in West Miami-Dade. Rosh Lowe, 7 News, Night Team.
And Rosh, we have more reaction now from witnesses, some who were just feet away from danger. The Night Team's Walter Morris joins us live with that now. Walter?
Well, Belkis, it's hard to imagine the chaos. That bridge came down in the middle of the afternoon on a busy street at a busy college campus. Some of the witnesses we talked to saying they just couldn't believe it. They were in shock, but thankfully within seconds, Good Samaritans sprang into action.
Horns blaring from crushed cars under the concrete. And police and rescue sirens in and around Southwest 8th Street and 109th Avenue. A chaotic scene after the pedestrian bridge at the FIU campus in West Miami-Dade collapsed. Witnesses describing what they saw.
Like an explosion. It was like, I don't even know how to say it. It was loud. It sounded like a bomb, like multiple bombs in one. It was terrible. It was super loud. It sounded like the world was ending. And when you look back, all you see is the bridge on the floor. It was awful.
At first, people had no idea what was happening and didn't know what to do.
We were at my friend's house when we heard it fall, but we didn't know what it was. And then we started walking to where all the ambulances were because we saw helicopters, and then we saw that it had fallen.
The first thought of many driving through the area: get people to safety.
I ran to see if they needed help. I saw cops carrying people and people were injured, and then when I looked closely, cars are just squished.
Cell phone video also capturing the deadly scene. People on top and around the rubble in shock at what they were seeing.
I saw the black car first, and there was a young lady in pink, and she got out and she was screaming. I think someone must have been in the back of her car.
First responders desperately trying to get to those trapped. People who pass under the bridge on a daily basis couldn't believe this was actually happening.
I was shocked. That was the last thing I would expect to happen. I pass under there every single day. Mostly when I get off the turnpike right there, I always get caught in the red light under the bridge. So to think that happens to people is just crazy.
A tragic scene witnesses will never forget.
And I started crying and crying because there's people there. It could be our family. It could be, it's human. The scary thing about it is that we were right. I'm traumatized because we were in the light. We turned a left, and that's when it happened when we were around here.
And of course, this is a very busy street, but officials asking members of the public to avoid this area. That's Southwest 8th Street between 107th Avenue and 117th. That will be closed indefinitely. Live in West Miami-Dade, Walter Morris, 7 News, 19.
All right, Walter, now back up to the air. 7's Ralph Rayburn has been over the scene for us for a better part of the evening and the afternoon, and he's got an update now. Ralph?
We want to show you the picture from Skyforce HD here, looking down at the accident scene, and you can see we're going to show you two things that are occurring right here at the scene, and then we'll move on. But we have the NTSB folks who have been on the scene for a while now, have just arrived in a van, and they all walked over here towards the accident scene. And what we can tell you is in the last hour or so, a number of the fire rescue units that were here on the scene have been released to go back into regular service now, because their portion of their work is done here at this scene. One other thing we want to show you is before they left, If you look in between the two vehicles there, especially between those two vehicles, you'll see large pieces of lumber that have been put in. They're for the jacking system that they're going to be using tomorrow at first light when they start to raise up these concrete structures here to get them off of those vehicles so they can remove those vehicles. And we'll bring the camera back out here very, very quickly and show you the overview here. That's 8th Street from top to bottom of your screen there. This roadway is going to remain closed all the way from the turnpike out there. Right there you can see the cloverleaf, or portion of the cloverleaf there. That road is closed there. That's about 117th Avenue. And then down below us here, as we bring the camera all the way across here down to I believe it's 102nd Avenue, that roadway is going to remain closed until this investigation and the cleanup is complete. That's our story here in Skyforce HD. I'm Ralph Raven reporting live.
Quite the undertaking. Okay, Ralph, thanks.
Tonight, many friends and families are on edge, anxious to find out if their loved ones are safe.
The night team's Sheldon Fox is live on the FIU campus to continue our coverage now. Sheldon.
And it's spring break, Belkis and Craig, but the building behind me is open tonight. Not to anybody, though. Only to those connected to a catastrophe. On this night, the Student Academic Success Center on FIU's campus is the place to go for those close to victims of Thursday's bridge collapse.
It hurts. I was really close to her.
Lynette Gomez is worried about her good friend, who she says is unaccounted for.
I just hope she's okay and that she's found soon.
She's a sorority sister of yours.
Yeah.
Gomez was part of this group who came to the building officials are calling a family reunification center.
The way the bridge landed, it landed on the driver's side, so that's why he was able to get out to the passenger. And everything just happened too fast, and he couldn't really get her out of the car.
Manny Perez and his friends are desperate to find out what happened to her. But he's grateful to know the state of the passenger in that vehicle.
We saw his car in the back of a picture with the bridge half on top of it. He's at the hospital right now. I saw him. He's in stable condition, thank God. But we haven't been able to find where she is.
These friends came to where volunteers, campus and Miami-Dade police, its director included, the American Red Cross and clergy would gather to offer help in the form of questions they can answer, and then some.
Serving as a resource for anybody who's looking for some guidance, for a hand to hold. Because I drive under that bridge a million times a day, and I'm always around, and I just got lucky.
And if you've got questions and think you might have a family member who was under that bridge, or any questions regarding today's tragic situation, call this number, 305-348-3481. We're live on the campus of FIU in West Miami-Dade. Sheldon Fox, 7 News 19.
Well, none of those we know were fighting for their lives at this hour. The governor stopped by a hospital a little while ago, and the night team's Andrew Scheinthal is at Kendall Regional Medical Center with that for us. Andrew.
And Craig, we know that 10 patients were brought here. 2 of them are still in critical condition. The staff here saying it took dozens of doctors to treat these patients. All 10 of them arrived in less than an hour, and some of them are expected to continue to have surgeries in the coming days.
Surgeons, emergency physicians, neurosurgeons, orthopedic surgeons, radiologists, nurses.
It is all hands on deck at Kendall Regional Medical Center. The chief of trauma saying his staff received 10 patients from the FIU Sweetwater Bridge collapse, 2 of who remain in critical condition.
One of the patients arrived in cardiac arrest. His heart was restarted and he went emergently to the operating room. Another patient arrived in coma with severe extremity injuries.
Governor Scott arriving at the hospital just before 10 p.m., meeting with a team of doctors who have a busy night ahead of them. Dr. Mark McKinney says the ages of the patients range between their 20s and 50s. He says the first patient arrived around 2 p.m. and they just kept coming.
And we've routinely gotten smaller numbers, 3, 4, 5, 8 patients at a time, but 10 level 1s at one time was, our biggest.
It took at least 24 physicians and surgeons to treat those who were injured. Dr. McKinney says 8 of the patients are stable and their injuries vary.
Everything from bruises and abrasions all the way to broken bones.
And Governor Scott is still here at the hospital meeting with doctors. We did talk to the head of trauma today. He said that some of his surgeons have been in contact with other surgeons in the area who say they have also received patients today after that bridge collapsed. We're live in Southwest Miami-Dade. I'm Andrew Scheinthal, 7 News 19.
All right, Andrew, this recovery will be a rough road. The collapse could cause traffic problems for weeks or longer.
Live 9 Team coverage continues with Franklin White. He's in West Miami-Dade. Franklin?
And to give you an idea of where I am, this right here is 8th Street, and police are here blocking access. That bridge collapse happened down this way, closing that street. And now drivers are left finding other routes.
I'm probably going to lose at least 30, 40 minutes in the morning.
This mountain of concrete has now shut down 8th Street in Southwest Miami-Dade indefinitely.
I got to wake up earlier, wake him up earlier. Kids don't like to wake up so early in the morning. So, yeah, I think it's going to be bad.
Police on every corner on or near the destruction scene turning drivers away.
To go around in different areas just to look for another way to get to wherever we're trying to go.
The mess now causing a traffic nightmare, sending drivers into a panic and tying up lanes near the turnpike to Southwest 107th Avenue, one of the busiest areas in South Florida.
Please assist us by avoiding the area of Southwest 8th Street between Southwest 107th Avenue and Southwest 117th Avenue indefinitely as this process goes on.
The damage left behind also causing major concern for parents and students during their morning commute.
The way I take my son to school is this way, and now I jump on the turnpike. Now I got to go all around, so it's going to be very, very, very hectic in the morning.
Yeah, I go to school in the other side, and now it's just going to cause more traffic. I'm going to be late to school. I'm going to be late to work, too.
Another big issue drivers will face, the opening of the 2018 Youth Fair, only happening a few blocks away. And despite the traffic, the fair says they're still open for business. The Miami Youth Fair, located near FIU's campus, is now advising drivers to take other routes to participate, like using Bird Road, Southwest 40th Street, and Coral Way, Southwest 24th Street. And as police continue this lengthy investigation and drivers map out new routes to travel, they know it's nothing compared to what the victims and their families are dealing with.
It's annoying, but at the same time, we have to focus on the victims and making them feel better and just giving them the resources that they need.
And the police will be here into the night and into the morning, a long way until this road reopens. Reporting live in West Miami-Dade, Franklin White, 7 News 19.
Okay, Franklin, and we're hearing the calls of concern from emergency crews as they race to respond to the scene of this tragedy. The Night Team's Joe Rotes has those transmissions. He's live from West Miami-Dade as well. Joe.
And right now, there are more than 100 first responders on scene here sifting through the rubble. As you can imagine, it was intense moments when they first got the calls for help, seeming to have to confirm for themselves that it was, in fact, a bridge that collapsed onto the street.
Other central units reference a construction accident, Southwest 8th Street, 109 Avenue, advising an overpass fell, 6 people injured.
The calls started to pour in around 1:30 Thursday afternoon. The newly constructed pedestrian bridge at FIU collapsing into a mass of concrete rubble.
To advise that multiple workers were on top of the bridge as well as vehicles were on the bridge. And we have a report that several people injured at this time. Injured 37.
The call going out from dispatch, firefighters and paramedics jumping in to get to the scene as fast as possible. With people trapped underneath, time was of the essence.
I'm en route with the collapse truck.
Within minutes, the cavalry on the way.
Engine 3, Rescue 69, Ladder 46, Squad 69, Battalion 8.
The first unit on scene appearing to confirm the catastrophe.
We do have the whole bridge is down across the whole side of 8th Street. I'll update you of any further information for possible entrapment.
That is when the real work began. The rush to rescue anyone trapped beneath the 940-ton behemoth.
At least 4 cars under this bridge. 3, 4 are going to be unattainable at this time.
And it only took a few minutes for first responders to get on scene here. As we now know, there are 8 cars pinned beneath that bridge with 9 people pulled out and taken to the hospital. We're live in West Miami-Dade. Joe Rotes, 7 News 19.
Now digging deeper tonight, we've uncovered a lawsuit filed just last week against the company that built that bridge and finger-pointing about who was in charge of the project. Investigative reporter Brian Enton is live at that business in South Miami. Brian.
Craig, we are outside Munilla Construction Management. That is the construction company that built the bridge. They have said that it was safe, that it was innovative, that it could even withstand a Category 5 hurricane. Tonight, everyone trying to figure out what went wrong.
Well, what you're seeing here is a dream that was developed long ago.
Just 5 days ago, the president of Munilla Construction Management was touting this first-of-its-kind project. Now the South Miami-based construction company is dealing with the disaster of a deadly pedestrian bridge collapse that just days ago was called a construction marvel.
This is the largest one ever done in the United States, so this is a first for the United States. So it's going to be a signature bridge recognized as a feature of Miami. I really do think so.
Thursday night, there seemed to be a debate brewing about whether FIU followed all guidelines on the project. FIU's president said this.
And we followed all processes, competitive bidding, two-phase process, independent engineering company that is fully certified by the state, that was recommended to us by FDOT.
The Florida Department of Transportation has made clear the bridge was not their project, and in a statement said, under this project, it is the responsibility of FIU's designed build team to select the firm used to conduct the independent secondary review. The firm selected, Lewis Berger, was not FDOT pre-qualified for this service, which is a requirement under FIU's agreement with the state. A 174-foot, 950-ton section of the new University City Bridge was built adjacent to Southwest A Street using something called accelerated bridge construction. It was assembled on FIU's campus over the last 6 or 7 months before being swung into place over the busy street this past weekend. A news release said this method of construction reduces potential risks to workers, commuters, and pedestrians and minimizes traffic interruptions.
I'm exhaling now because it has been said. The challenges where we mitigated the challenges by doing exhaustive studies and work plans with all the different members that form the team that are delivering the project today.
The CEO wasn't talking today, and no one came to the door at the company's South Miami headquarters. But in a statement, they said, "We sent our thoughts and prayers to all those affected by this terrible tragedy. The new University City Bridge, still under construction, collapsed in a catastrophic way, leaving wounded and loss of human life. In MCM, a family company, we are devastated and doing everything we can to help. A thorough investigation will be carried out to determine the reason for what's happened, and we will cooperate with researchers in every possible way." Munilla Construction Management, or MCM, touts other big South Florida projects on its website, like expansions at Miami International Airport and Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, the Port of Miami, even a toll plaza on the Florida Turnpike. 7 News obtaining this lawsuit filed just last week by a worker at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. He says he was hurt when a makeshift bridge built by MCM broke under his weight. That lawsuit is still pending. And tonight you have many different structural engineers around the country weighing in on this collapse, many saying that this new unique design of building the bridge in one place and then moving it over the highway at a later date, that may not have been a good idea considering it would be over 8 lanes of traffic. Live in South Miami, Brian Entin, 7 News 19.
We're going to have more coverage of this sudden collapse ahead in this newscast. As always, you can get the latest at WSVN.com and all of our mobile platforms.